So that's it, James Clear's. That's the book that we're reading. This is one that I've gone through before. And this is Mary Catherine told us let's jump back on this one. And as I started going through it again, thought, boy, this was a good idea. The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. The aggregation of marginal gains. Love that term. The aggregation of marginal change. What does that mean? Well, it was a philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything that we do. The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything that you can think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you're going to get a significant increase when you put them all together. Now, the backstory on this one is, and again, this is how sales books go oftentimes, is it's the English writing team who are the English bike riding is like English food. It's horrible. But what they did is they started looking at the aggregation of marginal gains. And what that means is how can we find something a little better? How can we streamline the bike? How can we streamline the rider? How can we tweak with a diet here and there? And just making a small change every day. You see, but with habits, the problem with habits, and we'll get into this, is once you make that change, that aggregation of a marginal change, that 1% has to be something that sticks with you. And Clear goes into how we make that stick. If we've charted our course in the right direction and the wind is at our back, we will get to our destination eventually, right? Doesn't matter how long it takes. What we need to do is we need to chart our course. And so we have to understand that the little changes that we make with our business today are things that we need to apply and make permanent. Now, the whole thing with the bikes is the English bikes. These guys never won anything anywhere whatsoever, but they started to change and take on Clear's philosophy that he outlines in Atomic Habits. And after a couple of years, not only did they go in there and win 6 gold medals in the Olympics in bike riding, they went on to win something like 5 out of 6 Tour de France's. Now, if you're looking at your business and you don't like where it is, that's okay. That is 100% okay. If your business is in the tubes right now, it doesn't matter. It matters what you do today right now. And that is absolutely the truth. If you go back to 2008 and you look at the companies that were succeeding in the mortgage space specifically, enormously, overwhelmingly, all the independently owned mortgage banking platforms that were huge at the time, guess what? None of them exist today. None. Publicly traded ones, different story. They got a shit ton of money behind them. But the independent mortgage banking platforms of 2008 are gone today because they were incapable of pivoting and making these changes. They were stuck in yesterday and they were incapable of understanding what was going to happen tomorrow. Same thing with top producing loan officers. If we get stuck with where we're at right now, listen, the market right now is changing. What's going to happen in the next 6 years? Bad markets make great loan officers and great realtors. They do. Great markets don't make anybody great. They're easy. It's when adversity kind of hits us between the teeth. That's when we need to really kind of change our business. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. If you're calling on realtors, you're calling on clients. Now, our bad habits, it's the same thing, isn't it? And we all have those. But when we have and find things at work, we got to stick with it and we have to make it something that becomes habit forming. Habits are something, listen, habits are both good and bad, right? Too often we convince ourselves with massive success requires massive actions. And boy, how many times do you wake up and say, I'm going to fix my business today? And you come in and you're ready to tear down a mountain. Well, that's not how a successful business is made. It's made by small changes and on a regular basis. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Now, we all understand what the idea of compound interest is, don't we? Once we continue with our habits on a regular basis, what happens with compound interest? How do we do on day one with compound interest? Everybody knows the simple metaphor of doubling a penny every day. What would you rather have, $1 million today or take a penny and double it for a month? And if you double a penny for a month, you're going to have $2.5 million. That's how our compound interest is working here. You see, when you start with a new habit, it's really easy to get sidetracked and go back into old habits. Old habits are comfortable and they're familiar. That's the reason you do them. New habits deserve the reverence of your stick-to-itness, of your mindfulness, of your thoughtfulness. You see, because when we have a new habit that doesn't want to stick around, it's something that's foreign to you. For me, it's swimming in the ocean type of thing. And what compounds the problem and why it deserves your reverence is when we take on a new habit, we don't see the results that we want to get. And that's exactly what we're showing over here. If we have our 1% improvement and we were to graph this out with time over results, well, what's going to happen? Well, here's what immediately is going to happen. You're going to stop your business from falling apart. And right now, there's a lot of people on this call whose business might be falling apart. And that's a good thing because, as I said before, you're either going to have a 1% decline or a 1% improvement. But you're not going to see the results. It's like dieting. You start dieting, you start eating good food, and you start exercising for the first week. What's going to happen? You're going to feel like hell. You're going to be tired. You're going to hate the food you're eating. You're always going to be hungry, and you're going to be sore. But what happens if you stick with that for 6 months? It's the same thing with our business. You're going to start with any new technology. You're going to hate it. It sucks. It's unfamiliar. I still hate CRMs. I come from a world, I'm the last generation that remembers a world without computers, and frankly, I can use bar napkins as my database management system. Thank you very much. Well, that dog doesn't hunt in this world, does it? Because I need to work with a shit ton of more people, and the technology exists for me to make that happen. But it requires me to change my habits and sit down and learn this shit. Look at ourselves critically. Where are your deficiencies with your business? Because they're there. Unless you're closing 10 deals a month, they're there. Again, this is really the great thing about this book is we're going to talk about habits and how it's going to help you improve your business. Okay, 1%, again, remember you're never paddling, you're never keeping your head above water, you're sinking or you're flying, guys. 1% better or worse. We make a few changes, but the results never seem to come quickly, so we slide back into our previous routines. Amen. Exactly what I'm talking about. But when we repeat 1% errors day after day, by replacing poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. It's the accumulation of many missteps. A 1% decline here and there, well, it eventually leads to a problem. Those deficiencies have toxic results. And that's why we find ourselves where we do right now. And oh, by the way, just to let you know, everything I'm telling you about myself is 100% true, and I buy into this. Absolutely. Absolutely, he's right. And he's got the resume to prove it. Tiny battles like these are the ones that are going to define your future self. It's not that one big defining moment. It's not the time that you killed it and you got 5 or 6 responses on 5 or 6 messages. It's when we say that we can go ahead and let ourselves skate today. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. This is what I said. Chart your course. Your destination is in front of you. You'll get there eventually. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on a path towards success. Think about how you conducted yourself today. What have you done today that is putting you 1% in the right direction? What have you done today that's putting you 1% in the wrong direction? What matters is whether your habits are putting you on a path towards success. Think about your habits today. What have you done today? Think about it from the minute you woke up. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than your current results. Man, that's huge. So positive compounding habits. Positive compounds, they accomplish one extra task. It's a small feat on any given day, but it counts a lot over an entire career. It is the only thing that matters. Knowledge compounds. Learning one idea won't make you a genius, but the commitment to lifelong learning can be transformative. It's the whole process. It's not the destination, it's Kerouac's, it's the journey. You got to get out there and do it. Relationships compound. People reflect on your behavior back at you. The more you help others, the more others want to help you. Think about your business right now. I want to just think about this for a second. When was the last time you called one of your past clients up and had a conversation and weren't thinking about a paycheck? Think about that. Think about if you just called a past client up and said, how are you doing? What's going on? I saw this thing and it reminded me of you. Relationships compound, guys. Wouldn't it be great if I put this into rotation on a regular basis? I'll say this right now. The gal up in Sacramento, her name is Shannon Hoff. She calls me on a regular basis. She knows there is no business that she's getting from me. But it's a discipline. I know it's their discipline. The frustration of a traffic jam. The weight of parenting responsibilities. Joanna, how's that parenting responsibility thing working out?
It's not fun at all.
Right? You ever get in the doldrums? It's okay to get in the doldrums. It's not that we don't do that, but you have to consciously think about putting yourself in the right frame of mind because people buy from people who smile. You have to be consistent with your clients. You have to be on your game. That has to be a habit. Do you have to wear a mask? Some days you do, but you have to. And outrage compounds, doesn't it? And we've seen a lot of that around this country lately. The valley of disappointment. Here's the point I want to get into here. You expect to make progress in a linear fashion. All right, I'm going to try something new. Brian, I'm buying into this bullshit. I'm going to start calling 1 million people a day. No, you're not. Start with 15 or 20. Work your way up. Build a solid habit. A habit is something that you're going to stick with in perpetuity. The shit doesn't end now. So we start this new habit now. Okay, I expect to make progress in a linear fashion, and it's frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first days, the first weeks, and even the months. It doesn't feel like you're going anywhere. It's a hallmark of any compounding process. It doesn't matter if you're dieting, if you're reading books, but it doesn't matter if you're prospecting for clients. The most powerful outcomes, they're always delayed. Think about that. Think about whenever you try to pick up something new. If I don't pick up and read a book every day, if I'm 6 months away from reading a book and I pick up a book, I don't absorb as much information. I've broken that habit. But when I'm reading all the time, I can read where I don't even know I'm looking at the damn words. You know what it's like. Here's the two. Now, listen, guys, take a pick. You're one or the other. You are one or the other. What he refers to this as is I love these terms. They're so great. They make everyone sound so smart. Now, here's what goes on. Here's what I'm talking about. You have a new idea and you expect it to go like this, don't you? You're all right. It's not going to compound. What's going to happen is every day I do it, it's going to get a little better. Wrong. You're not going to meet your expectations. It's going to get a little better, but it's not going to feel that way. What happens with our business? You start to call. It sucks. Picking up a new piece of technology. It sucks. It is worse than you think it is. The alternative is on your left-hand side, where you decline by 1%. Mind you, 1 or 2 is happening. But what happens when you learn that CRM? Well, then you can read it like a book. And what happens is it starts to compound. It is a stick-to-itness, and the only way to stick to something is to make it a habit. And if you can make a bad habit, you can make a good habit. With your business, consciously think about who you are. Which one do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Well, I have a goal. I want my shit to work out really, really well. I do. That's a goal. It's not a habit. That's a goal. Goals are cute. Goals come and go. And there is nothing behind that statement that's going to get me any closer to my goal. I have to have the habits. Habits are more important. Goals are cute. Habits are indispensable. The point to this slide is, don't let something that you perceive to be a setback when you start a new habit deter you from sticking with it. This is why 90% of real estate agents and lenders fail. They don't stick with it. It's hard to stick with shit. And the only reason I stuck with my videos and shit like that back in 2008, the only reason I did it is I was going to be financially busted. My business was in shambles, as was everybody who was writing loans in 2008. I didn't have a choice. This is exactly what he says here. Forget about your goals. Focus on your systems instead. Eventually, Clear goes on to say, I began to realize that my results had very little to do with my goals I set, and nearly everything that I had to do with the systems that I followed. This is something he applied towards his life. Goals are about the results that you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. What's more important? We are so goal-oriented, we have to change. Guys, I have to change too. Don't take it like I'm kicking your ass. I'm kicking my ass too. I have to change. We all have to change. Now, change isn't big, change isn't fundamental. The great thing about what Clear says is change is a little thing that you stick with. That little damn thing that you stick with. Now for the interesting question. If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your system, would you still be a success? If you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your systems, would you still be a success? And I think what Clear is saying is that the only way for you to be a success is to completely focus on your goals. In other words, you work on that CRM, you work on that piece of technology, whatever it is that you're doing, it all works. If you have a marketing idea, it works. They all work. Every one of them works. It's your ability to stick with it. Don't judge your results. Judge your activity. Judge your consistency. Judge your mindset. Judge your focus. And I love the next line right here, because if you judge what it took to get there, the score is going to take care of itself. That was a great line by the coach Bill Walsh, who coached the 49ers during their dynasty. He changed up how everything was coached in football. That Bill Walsh was all about practice. And what Bill Walsh famously said one time after he won his 3rd Super Bowl, he goes, if we practice well during the game, it doesn't matter. The score is going to take care of itself. And in your business, if you focus on your activities, the only thing that you can control is you. If you focus on your activity, don't worry. It doesn't matter if the market is shit. It doesn't matter if interest rates are high. It doesn't matter if prices are coming down. If you focus on you and you change and you create good habits and replace those with bad habits, it will not only fix your business, but it will start to have this wonderful ripple effect in the rest of your life in different areas. Goals are good for setting a direction. They are. Dream about that thing that you want. But systems, and only systems, are going to help you make problem number 1. Winners and losers have the same goals. First time I read this was kind of interesting to me, and I thought about this, and boy, it's interesting. Think about everybody who got into real estate and lending. You think and somebody got into real estate and said, I want to get into lending. I want to become a mortgage lender, and I want to struggle every month to pay my bills. Do you think anyone ever said that? No. People got into mortgage lending because they saw all the big, fast money that's being made, right? That's why they did it. Same thing with real estate. Everybody gets into this because they want to achieve. They want to succeed. Nobody gets in to be middle of the road. Goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. Boy, do we know that. We concentrate on the people who end up winning, the survivors, and mistakenly assume that ambitious goals led to their success while overlooking all the people who had the same objective but didn't succeed. I gave you 3 or 4 examples of loan officers who are consistent with their outreach. I could give you 3 or 4 more right now off the top of my head. And you say, boy, look at how successful these people are. Well, yeah, but behind all that success is hard work. Problem number 2 is achieving a goal can only be a momentary change. Imagine you have a messy room and your goal is to set up clean your room. If you summon the energy to tidy up the room, then you're going to have a clean room. That is for now. But if you maintain the same sloppy, pack rat habits that led to the messy room in the first place, you're going to be looking at a new pile of crap sitting around your room all the time. Think about your business. You are only as good as your last transaction. And that is the truth. We are the messy room analogy, aren't we? That's the only thing that matters. That you stick with your habits because remember, the score takes care of itself. Your production will take care of itself. Don't ever get too comfortable with your success. Don't ever beat yourself up too much about your failures. Worry about what you can control your habits. The implicit assumption behind any goal is this: once I reach my goal, I'm going to be happy. Well, that's not the truth, is it? We're all malcontents to a certain extent. The idea is, can you sustain it? The idea is, can you be happy with your new habits? That's the goal, to be happy with your new habits. And the 4th problem is goals are at odds with long-term progress. Finally, a goal-oriented mindset can create a yo-yo effect. What does that mean? Well, that means once we succeed and we've had that month where we close 15 transactions and we pull down $100,000, boy, that feels really good, doesn't it? I'm going to sit down and just think about how great I am. Yep, I just closed 15 deals. Boy, I kick ass. Well, the problem is I'm sitting around on my laurels. My competition is sharpening their teeth and pinning their ears back and getting ready to bury me. You know, that's the one thing, again, about Tom Brady. Can't stand him or the Patriots. But the one thing you got to say is when they won a Super Bowl, when they won a game, all they did is it was business as usual, back to work for the next game. They never sat down and said, look how great we are. So we wrapped up. We're pretty close to wrapping up chapter 1 on this. I don't doubt any of this. This is all 101. We all know it. We do. You know it. I know it. But it doesn't get us any closer to our objectives, does it? We have to engage. We have to engage ourselves. We have to engage our clients. We have to engage our work around us. It will ripple effect in the right direction. I believe it. It is so unbelievably logical that I think it's kind of hard to argue with. And even though we know it, don't take it for granted that you know it. The question then becomes, what are we going to do about it? That, my friends, concludes chapter 1 of James Clear, Atomic Habits.